sure that the camera's not looking straight up at them. Oh, perfect. Damn, that was easy for you.
Okay, sounds good. I think the mics are hot.
Yes. Hot.
Hot mics.
Can't wait to get this here. Yeah, it's all right. No, say I can't wait to get a haircut.
You can't wait to get a haircut?
Yeah, it's the longest my hair's ever been.
Yeah, it's the longest I've ever seen you have it.
It's crazy. I was gonna 2 weeks ago. I haven't had time.
Mm-hmm.
Donald's expensive.
Yeah, I can understand.
I don't.
That. A lot of time, good hair people are expensive.
I have other bills right now to pay.
I wish I could do hair because I love good hair, and I'm not a hair person. Like I can't do good hair, but I love good hair.
Yeah. What the hell? What the hell? What's up with these?
I know I had to move mine around. That's why I actually put these on instead of those.
No, it was like they were all tangled.
Yeah.
No. 8:20. We need to set the show up. What is this, Lizzie?
Yes.
What specifically are we trying to focus on? I know I read everything, but what?
And just some of that stuff and how she helps special forces, and then the show's going well. And I want just going to go look at some more. If it's going on, then she's going to talk about how that ties into Hamas.
Perfect. That's what I assumed.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Show before the show. As you know, we're just getting set. Say good morning to you, Ben. Good seeing you yesterday. Angie, Greg, Trisha, Michelle. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday, October 30th. Did you do any Halloween stuff over the weekend, Lizzie? Since you love it, you have a granddaughter.
No, it was a hard weekend. We had my mom to deal with. You know, I'm in the sandwich generation. My mom isn't doing very good. And then we had a sudden illness with my father-in-law. So he's in critical condition. So no, there was no Halloween for us this weekend.
No, it doesn't sound like it.
No.
Sorry to hear that.
Crazy weekend. But, I've learned it's an honor to be in the sandwich generation. Because you do.
It is. That's a good point.
It is. Like people told me it was going to be rough, and it is in some ways. But, you still have some of your parents here. I've lost one parent, but I still have a mom and both my in-laws, and they're all great. And then, I have one kid still at home and 4 adult kids and a grandbaby. So I'm literally in the meat of the sandwich right now. And it's an honor that God put me there.
I went over to the Strix Saturday night because they live close to me.
Oh, did you do Halloween-y stuff?
They had a Halloween party.
Oh, nice. I bet it was fun because anything the Strix do is just top notch. Mm-hmm. And they're such fun people.
It was a last second deal here.
But it was fun. Did you wear a costume?
Just like.
So you didn't call Kelly Mano and get her costume?
Hunted. No. No.
You didn't get that one?
No. Big penis did not.
So big penis?
No.
Big penis, big dick, big.
We got a new Lizzie drop.
I'm glad that was on the show before the show.
We're going to record that, Joe. I need to process that for a second.
Yeah, that's a drop. That's a new drop.
That just came out. That's from me being in the hospital all week.
I know. I get it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Vic's heard it before, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. Have you heard that before?
I'm going to be modest right now.
You say, no, I absolutely didn't.
I'm going to be modest.
I absolutely did not. Nobody said that. Are you going to wear it tomorrow, though? Because tomorrow's Halloween.
Yeah, maybe.
That would be really great if you did.
No.
I bet you don't wear it tomorrow because you're afraid of what I'm going to say.
Balls. You could have like Big Vic energy or something like that.
Well, okay, I'll say that. I won't call you a big dick. I'll say Big Vic energy. Okay.
There we go.
There you go. Okay.
We're kickstarting a Monday.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate.
Yep. Right out of the gate.
Free for all Monday.
Yep. Happy Monday, everybody. And Bindy's saying, oh, Vic, do it.
Yeah. Robert says we're all afraid of what you might say.
I know. It's really true. It's really true. They get me out of the home just from 8 to 10, and you never know what I'm going to say. And then they put me back, in the home at 10:15. Go back in the home, Lizzie.
Yeah. Here's Greg, Greg.
I mean, really?
I'm looking. He's the last comment up, Joe. And I got some I sent you 2 pictures. Can we show the Strix real quick? They almost hit a home run with their outfit. Almost. See, because I was like, okay. They're right by my house. My son came back from a zoo, so he drove me over, picked me up.
Yeah.
There for a couple hours. Easy.
But it was fun.
Crazy. Don't have to spend any money. It's all good. Dave, such is my life.
Yeah.
So I love their costume, but here's the thing. They were Travis and
oh my gosh,
Taylor.
I love it so much.
Kathy had blue eye contacts.
Look at her.
The whole out. She had a guitar at all. The only thing is Steve ended up looking more like Dick Butkus, a former Bears linebacker.
Yeah, I would say he does.
Because of the stash. I was like, let me draw one on with you because I
love it.
I'm good with makeup. And I know how to do it. I was like, let me just die. So he ripped it off pretty quickly, but it was Kelsey on the back. He had the red shoes, and Steve's a built man, so he looked good in that. Here's what I did at the last second. I was like zombie, like doctor person using my scrubs.
Where's your, there you, you are a zombie doc.
Yeah.
That looks great.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I did that myself.
You look great.
You look that, really
good. I'm very impressed.
That's 24 years of doing my own makeup.
Yeah, that looks great.
I'm 25 now almost. Well, I didn't do my own makeup in Detroit. In Detroit, we were a legitimate TV market where you actually had people that did your makeup.
Yeah, that's good.
In St. Louis, I had to do it myself.
I love it. Could you imagine if we came in tomorrow and you look like that and I could be a candy stripe?
I could do that very easily.
Yeah, you could do that very easily. Very easily.
It's just a mess at the sink.
Yeah, I bet that is a mess.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
I know, it looks great.
I love to people watch Halloween parties. Sorry.
It's fun. It's so fun. Halloween parties.
I saw a ton of really good costumes. I mean, it's also the downfall of this country, but we're all more worried about Halloween costumes and what's actually happening.
That is very true. But it's a good diversion. You can worry about that and then go dress for Halloween because then you give a couple hours not worried about everything else.
Anthony says, I think I'm the only person left that hasn't celebrated Halloween, probably 16 years. All are welcome here as always. All right. We're packed again. Let's go ahead and get the show started. Pro Joe, if that's cool with you, buddy. Hey guys, welcome into cancelthisshow.com. I'm Vic Faust with Lizzie Sparks and Pro Joe in the house. October 30th edition of the Cancel This Show, Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 a.m. Central, and all the time on our website, cancelthisshow.com. Thanks for kicking your week off with us, kicking your morning off with us, as well as always. News headlines. We've got cancel culture education, politics, interviews, business. Fridays, we get a little wacky, crazy. Well, Lizzie does it a lot of the time. Ready to bring you some Big Vic energy this morning. And and we'll see where we go with that.
That was well said.
Coming up at 8:20, we've got ZZ on, and is it Zamzama stuff? Is that
I just call her ZZ. We'll have to ask her. It's
ZZ.
Zamzama, right?
an incredible Zamzama?
I don't know.
Zamzama.
Zamzama. Okay. Yeah.
Zamzama, ZZ, she'll be in about 8:20. She's already in studio here. Grew up in Afghanistan, born, raised, helped U.S. Special Forces when they were there. I mean, literally risked her life on a daily basis, made a daring escape to the United States. She has an incredible story. We'll talk to her in regards to what's happening with her life, what she's done, what happens in the Middle East, and how maybe it all ties into Hamas and Israel and everything else that's going on with that war. Coming up at 9 o'clock, Gabe Crocker, former cop, turned criminal defense attorney, fascinating individual, winning a lot of cases. He's going to come in and tell us a lot of the issues that law enforcement are facing now, some of the biggest things that he sees from a criminal defense attorney standpoint. Texting and driving, that's a big one, as well as some other issues and just how things are going in that life. President Trump, sounding more like a president. Sorry, I'm calling him president. Over the weekend, all the White House will say now is don't to Iran. Just don't. Cammie got some 60 Minutes pub last night. What do you say to Iran for being involved or possibly supplying this, supplying that? Hezbollah, Hamas. Don't. That's all they're saying is don't.
Don't.
Still American hostages being held, Israeli hostages, although a couple Israeli hostages were found dead, which just adds to that story. I know the news cycle is so much so that we forget about things. But once again, I said I would never forget that. We've got hostages over there, and we continue to bring that up. What the hell happened with Matthew Perry, Friends actor? Makes no sense, especially after the coroner released somewhat of an autopsy. He deferred it.
Mm-hmm.
My grandpa was a coroner. This is a big deal. You know, I mean, it's like, wait a second, no drugs, no alcohol, no foul play. But he did. We'll get into it. I don't want to get into all of it right now. You have to hear a Canadian reporter breaking down Israel, Hamas, what's going on in regards to the investigations that she had done there. It's very, very interesting. And then Jew hate running rampant across this world, including in the United States. Lots more to get to, including a fun little deal with Gavin Newsom as well, because, okay, in life. But first, do we have commercials still?
We do.
You know what? Let's run people. Let's start the They're about to. Let's run the commercials. We'll come back. You won't want to miss Gavin Newsom, because in life, don't try to be too cool. When you try to be too cool, something bad is going to happen. Pride comes before the fall, literally. In this case, with Gavin Newsom. We'll be back with this in just 2 minutes.
Oh, wait. What? No response? Hi, I'm Curtis Barks with Complete Auto Body and Repair, offering full service and auto repair to St. Louis and St. Charles. We are looking for someone to say polo. That's right, we are hiring. We want you now. If you would like to work in a well-paying environment, then you owe it to yourself to stop by one of our 6 Complete Auto Body and Repair locations. Will you help me find that missing person? Please call me directly at 636-488-HIRE. That's right, 636-488-4473.
Dad, and service.
Oh yeah, and service.
He fixed the car.
Kathy L. Big Strick, owner of Experienced Real Estate Partners with eXp, has been one of St. Louis, Missouri's highest selling groups for 26 years running. In that time, Kathy and her team have successfully assisted an incredible 4,000 families. So if you're thinking about buying, building, or selling, be sure to put Kathy's group and their experience to work for you, and you can expect to be moved. Just give her a call at 314-276-SOLD. That's 314-276-7653, or find her online at experience-re.com.
Attention, anyone who served, lived, or worked at Marine Corps Base Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1987. Camp Lejeune's drinking water was dangerously toxic, and base personnel and their families have since suffered cancer and other illnesses. If you or a loved one spent time at Camp Lejeune and were diagnosed with cancer, you may be eligible for significant compensation. Call the Driscoll firm now. Consultations are free, and you won't pay a fee unless we get you the money you deserve. 1-800-805-4800.
As all of you may know, the home of the Cancel This studio is located at the all-inclusive private jet hangar Strategic Air Services. Founded in Chesterfield, Missouri, they take pride in offering a meticulous approach to private aviation through services that fully manage your trip from takeoff to landing. Strategic Air Services is more than just storage for your aircraft. They offer state-of-the-art amenities to its members and guests. When you are not traveling, you have the luxury of enjoying their world-class gym, conference rooms, lounges, and so much more. Strategic Air Services offers an unparalleled luxury experience for all things private aviation. If you're looking for a new place to call home for your aircraft, give them a call today at 636-400-7601. Again, that's 636-400-7601, or visit their website at strategicairservices.net.
Winties in the Chesterfield Valley, if you don't know, is a family-owned business that has been around since 1994, serving some of the best chicken wings in town, no joke. Also known for their fresh burgers, pizza, and incredible smoked meat. Top-notch happy hour specials are included, plus live music every Friday and Saturday. Oh yeah, you can also enjoy their spacious heated covered patio. It's Winties in the Chesterfield Valley, 18,000 Chesterfield Airport Road. Hey guys, welcome back in to cancelthisshow.com. I'm Vic Faust with Lizzie Sparks, Projo in the house as well. We appreciate you guys jumping in on a Monday with us. The best name I think I saw on the break was, who said it? Was it Anthony Merkel or Aaron Blank? Oh, California's governor. Not Gavin Newsom, it's Gavin Newsom.
No, I like it. I like it.
Oh my God, that's the best.
That's the best one.
Once again, if we were a really, really cool show, we would give you and send you prizes. I think we may have one hat left or something.
Yeah, he could come up here and get a prize. He could get coffee in a cup. We got prizes. We got stuff.
Oh, no, that would be funny as well.
Absolutely.
We got a lot to get to. Once again, cancelthisshow.com. Like, subscribe, share the show. You can send us stars. We appreciate that when you do that as well. You can also check out our website, cancelthisshow.com. You go to the merchandise site. Lots of things there. Hats, T-shirts, glasses, cups, coffee. The Cancel This organic coffee. I haven't had it yet, but I'm told it's amazing. Vic, you got to try it. Although I did get my own little cup, which was great. My little K cup last week. So I'm grateful for that. All right, real quick. Gavin Newsom parading around like he is the Democratic nominee for president, which he probably will, because they still say there's no way in hell Joe Biden is running for president. There just is no way. Here's Gavin Newsom. You got to check this out. When he was in China. Yeah, that's right. Remember, he went and met with the Chinese president. They won't give Biden an audience, well, because he is compromised. But Gavin over in California trying to act cool. Now, you've seen people, and maybe we've all done it, if you're walking in front of people and you trip and I'm going to make that try to look really smooth.
I've done that many times.
I meant to fall. Oh, yeah, you trip and come out of it. Gavin, this was not a very good look for the California governor. If you screw up, you screwed up. That's all right. Just lay there, like, make fun of yourself. Don't take yourself too serious. Here's Gavin trying to play basketball and making a mistake. What's he doing to that kid? Let the kid alone.
Spanking him.
Watch. Yeah, he's like, well, I'm going to stick my finger. I'm going to come back through. Crash and burn like the state of California. Like, what the hell? I got to see it one more time, Joe. One more time. Gavin Newsom trying to be cool, acting like, here it is. I mean, not only does that represent California, that represents America, that represents the Democratic Party, all in one right there, Gavin Newsom. If the former President Trump did that, do you think you'd see that everywhere?
Oh, you'd be seeing it everywhere, and they'd be calling him a pedophile by now.
Thank you. But since it's Gavin, it's quiet. It's not being shown, except here, which we try to do. What age? If you trip, just lay there. Don't grab a kid. Yeah, like you got in your way. I'm sorry, not a big Gavin fan.
No, me neither.
By the way, he just finished recently his $6 to $7 million new home in California as well.
Well, good for him.
Yeah, politicians becoming multi millionaires. No surprise there. So Gavin did that. Maybe we'll have to keep that on file. That's an interesting one to say the least. We're going to get into it a little bit later, but we'll start right now. We'll start a little early. Are you good to go, ZZ? Okay. What we're doing, Lizzie put this together, and I love the interview too, what you have, Lizzie. If you can kind of explain a little bit, introduce ZZ since you set this up. But we're honored to have ZZ. We'll call you ZZ. We'll let you introduce yourself and what your name is and how you pronounce it and where you're from. But I'm so glad that we get an interview to kind of explain who you are, what you've done, and how might it play with what's going on in the Middle East right now.
Yes, when you hear ZZ, and I'm so excited that you're here, and I thank both you and Lori that are both here today. So ZZ is basically, you can call her originally a refugee, but I would call her an escapee, where she actually escaped from Afghanistan, and her story, and I can't even begin to do it justice, what you had to do to come here. And I think the neatest thing that I even think about you, when you had come to my house at one point and kind of told me and my daughters just a little bit of your story, and I couldn't believe it. And I thought it was wonderful. And two of my kids, as you know, are Chinese, and they needed to hear how somebody had to really have a difficult way to get here and how much you love America now. But it wasn't just that you were adopted, put on a plane, and brought over here. You had to escape. And so could you tell us, first introduce yourself, and then tell us what you had to do to come to America?
All right. Thank you so much for inviting me to this show today. And my name is Zamzama, but I go by ZZ. I was born in 1997 in the east part of Afghanistan. When the United States Americans came to Afghanistan, invade Afghanistan, I was just 4 years old, and women were banned and were not allowed to go to school. But I was really interested to go to school, learn and get education, be independent woman. But I was in a place, I was born where women were not allowed to leave their house without a male escort. Anyways, by having the American troops in Afghanistan, women were allowed to go to school, and I started going to school. I was 15 years old that I got captured by the Taliban because I was learning English language, and I was really interested into learning that language. But it was really tough where I was living in the east part of Afghanistan. Most of the people were very conservative and very strict Muslims, and they consider English language the language of the infidels. So I got captured with my youngest brother from school, and they took us to the mountains. I was in the control of Taliban for 4 days. They tortured me badly and they raped me badly. After that, I was able to escape from them. As soon as I escaped from them, I met one of the U.S. officer who was a counterintelligence in the Air Force. He investigated my case, and then he offered me a job of translator, to be a committed and loyal translator to the U.S. government, so they can give me an SIV. SIV is the short form of Special Immigrant Visa. So I risked my whole life, even though I was already in risk, but I risked my whole life for the U.S. troops in Afghanistan, becoming a committed translator for them, going out on a daily basis missions, helping them with different dialogues in the villages. When we were going out searching for the Al-Qaeda in the houses, in the villages. And I was just 16 years old. When we were coming back to the base, I could still feel the heavy weight of body armors that I was wearing in going out with the US military in helping them with my language skills and culture expertise. So this way, my job was continue with the U.S. military, and also when the word got out that I'm helping American troops, the Taliban became more mad and they targeted my family. They put bomb on my families, and then after that, we moved to Kabul. I had a press conference.
What do you mean they put a bomb on your family?
They put a bomb like a grenade on my family. to destroy and kill my whole family
Their
because I
whole-
was
So was this at a house
yes,
or
it was in a house.
so they succeeded?
No, luckily my family survived that. Nobody got killed, but they destroyed our house. And then after that, me, my father, and my youngest brother, we moved to Kabul. I had a press conference, speak out against the Taliban and asking for safety from the Afghan government to provide security for my family because they were not safe. And then I was told that there are a lot of women that they are sacrificed here, and you're one of them, and we cannot do anything because the Taliban are rooted in the mountains. But I had a superhero father who helped me and supported me for my dreams, and we never give up. So still I continue my education in Kabul. Also, I was helping the US military in Kabul. But in Kabul, most of my translation was money deals because we were transferring a lot of money in building facilities for the Afghan government and train them to be independent to fight the Taliban back when they're getting control of Afghanistan.
How old were you when they captured you and tortured you? And I'm sure they did the same thing to your brother as well.
Yes, I was 15 years old that I was captured, and then they released my brother at the same time. They tortured my brother as well, and they forcibly separated my brother from me, and all I could hear was gunshot, and I thought my brother is dead. But when they forced me and make me to make a phone call to my father to let him know that I will never be coming home and I'm going to get married with the leader of the Taliban.
How did you guys get away, or why did they release you and your brother after 4 days?
They released my brother at the same night after a couple hours, but they didn't release me at the same night, and they kept me there because I was learning English language, and they were beating me up and torturing me. They were telling me this is the language of an infidel and women are not allowed to go to school. That's not in Islam. And then I became very determined, and I promised myself if I get released somehow to see my family, but I will never stop going to school and I will continue learning this language. And then I told the Taliban, let me go see my parents for the last time. I will come back and get married with you. In an Afghan culture, it's very controversial. What happened to me, um, this is like you were wounded and nobody will get married with you, or you're getting buried alive by your family. So this way the family can restore their pride and honor. But the Taliban didn't know that my father was not a typical Pashtun father. He was dying for me, to support me for my dreams, to become independent, to become an educated woman.
Um, I have when you went back, you started working with the United States, the Special Forces. Your experience there was great. I'm assuming in regards to getting help because your life was so horrible dealing with what you were dealing with.
Yes, I was the first and only female translator at that time that I became a translator in Jalalabad province. I was helping Marines, Special Forces, Air Force, Army, all branches of the US military in Afghanistan, but they were also helping me. It was both way help. But it took me 10 years to get the special immigrant visa. Even though my life was in danger, I have accomplished so many things, and I risk my whole life. I sacrifice my whole life for the US military to make them accomplish in Afghanistan what they wanted to accomplish.
That is just huge. That is just huge. And what inside you made you want to do that instead of just have the will to give up? Why the United States? Why did you want to help them?
I was really respected by the US military, especially Aaron Thomas, who was Air Force captain, and he was counterintelligence that helped me there. Um, I just loved the US military, and I wanted to help them um, with the last drop of my blood, and I just never wanted to give up, and I wanted to save their lives.
That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
ZZ, how many years ago were you able to get away or get out of Afghanistan and get to the United States?
I started that application and that process in 2012.
And you got here when?
I got here when my country, Afghanistan, collapsed.
Oh.
I was in the last commercial flight
Oh.
getting out of Afghanistan.
Can you talk about what those days were? Because, I mean, from a political standpoint, most Americans think we deserted so many Afghan people who helped the United States, which is why I'm glad that your experience with the United States was a good one. And if I'm saying that wrong, correct me, because all I saw were all these people. Yeah, we were able to save people, but so many others were left behind to deal with whatever the hell that they're having to deal with. It just looked like total chaos in that country as we left.
It was a total chaos. It was not a good idea the way that the US government pulled out from Afghanistan, especially for those translators that they risked, they sacrificed their whole life like me. My family left behind in Afghanistan, and they sacrificed their whole life for the US military to support me, to help them according to my language skills and culture expertise. It was really tough, especially when like US military as an interpreters me, we did so much, and then all of the sudden left everything behind and get out of Afghanistan and left all those interpreters behind. It was just terrible. It was heartbreaking. I was not even sure on that last commercial flight that my flight will take off, because I could see the Taliban and gunshots on the sky, that they were like celebrating their victory and beating the US government, and our flight delay. I was just um, really scared, and I was shaking so bad I didn't know what to do, because those moments were, I thought like they are the last moments of my life.
Were you there when the bomb went off at Kabul airport when we lost 13 servicemen and women? Had you already gotten out? Because one of those individuals who lost their lives that day was Jared Schmitz, who was a St. Louisan.
I met his parents and I was there, but I was not specifically on that day there, because I got out on the 15th of August, and that happened a few days later, in Ichkaya, which is Hamid Karzai International Airport. But I was in that path, and it was not easy. And as soon as I came to the that airport, I saw those Marines, those soldiers, that they were like putting their life in the first line to rescue their allies, like interpreters, translators, culture advisors, and they got killed. It was just heartbreaking, and I'm really appreciative of their service in Afghanistan.
Gosh, this whole situation is very interesting to me too, because and I'll get your opinion on it, because you were on the ground, you're working with U.S. forces. I just always felt the way that we left and all the military equipment that we left behind would eventually find its way to other terrorists around the world and somehow in some way be used against America and or our interest. Is it silly of me to think that weapons are being used against maybe Israel or some of our interest in the Middle East?
Obviously, like all those equipments, all those guns, they will be used against the Western countries, and they will be used to support another terrorist groups in the Middle East. And no matter what, when it comes to the Western countries, all these terrorist groups will come together and fight against the Western countries. And I think the Israel and Gaza war is the start of that, and all the Islamic countries.
Well, I see people in these pro-Palestine rallies with ISIS signs and supporting of ISIS. And I'm like, my God, if people can't see through this right now, I don't know if they ever will.
They are militant. Hamas is a militant Islam, and they lost their credibility, and the Western country should know that. And all these people who is like rising the sign of Hamas and supporting that, They know who is Hamas. They know who is Hezbollah, who is supporting Hamas. They know who is Iran, who will support and establish Hezbollah party in Lebanon. And Iran is one of the biggest enemy of the United States. So obviously, everybody, I think they know that.
I have to credit you on your English. Are you kidding me? We had Lori with us. By the way, Lori, it's we have you on just in case, but I'm like, your English is absolutely amazing. And to think that you were abducted, tortured, as you said, raped because you were just trying to learn English. What an amazing journey to be able to speak this language.
I appreciate it.
I mean, you're so good.
Thank you. It was not an easy journey. I faced a lot of obstacles to get where I am right now.
She did get her bachelor's degree.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When did you
What's
get
your bachelor degree?
She's in political science.
I got my bachelor degree while I was, even though a translator for the American troops, I was continuing my education. I got my bachelor degree in political science from one of the most prestigious universities in Afghanistan.
That's beautiful.
And you've been in the country now, what, 3 years?
3 years.
What are you doing? What are you doing now?
Right now, I'm doing motivational speeches for the high school students and university students. And my recent speech was at Yale in Connecticut. But I will have another speech there very soon because they invited me and they thought that my story is just powerful.
Yeah, you're blowing me away. That's for sure. With everything that you've been through, what you've done, what you've accomplished, what you've seen, what you know. When we see what's happening in the Middle East with Israel and Hamas, I mean, I get an idea from what you've already said just now. But for people who really don't know what's going on with that situation from your perspective, can you kind of break down from what you've seen and experienced and the kind of attitude and feeling that's there?
Well, when I was 15 years old, I started fighting against Al Qaeda and ISIS. Obviously, I know I have so many experience in that field. And a lot of I would like to say that it's sad or it's not because a lot of Americans, they have no idea what's going on in the Middle East and who is their real enemy. But I love America and I will fight and I will defend America till my last moment of my life. And I would like to talk about that, like how to break down those groups, those militant groups in the Middle East. Well, everybody knows that Al Qaeda and Hamas, before that 9/11 that happened, that was Al Qaeda, but now it's like the game of ISIS. And no matter what, as I mentioned before, like all these Islamic countries, they will come to support Hamas. They will not support the US or other Western countries. They will support Hamas because they share the same religion and Hamas is. But they should know that Hamas is using the civilian people, and a lot of the civilian people are sacrificed of that war. But Hamas doesn't care because his heart is made of stone.
His heart is made of stone. That's well said. What do you think about, I look at the news and I look at different things, and I know our listeners do too. And as a mom of college students, I see so many of these college students that both have Caucasian skin, some have Middle Eastern skin, and they're literally wanting to kill the Jews. I mean, that's basically what it is. What's that rationale?
That
Why are they doing it?
not the true human beings. We should respect human beings. This is how God created human beings, to respect each other, to be kind to each other, not to hurt and kill each other. And I'm a victim of that. I'm a survivor of that. And I know that those militant Islam ideology, they have no mercy and they don't care about human beings. As I mentioned before, their heart are made of stone.
There is not going to be any peace in the Middle East, is there? There's just not going to be, from your perspective and what you have seen. The only way that this ends is if you take out all terrorists, and we know that it will always continue to be there. But as Lizzie was saying as a follow-up to that, ZZ, as Israel goes, and this is just one facet of it in the world, as Israel goes in and continues their ground offensive, you're going to see civilian casualties. And then you'll see this image put up in media, civilians dead. And of course, it's going to go back on Israel from that standpoint. This is, with your knowledge, do you see this taking the United States into a World War III? Because a lot of people feel as if we're already there now.
It is. This war and all these, like Hezbollah is getting involved, supporting Hamas, and Iran is getting involved in this war, and eventually Turkey and other Islamic countries will get involved in this war. It is leading to the World War III.
Is there anything as such as a peaceful Muslim? And we appreciate people who want to ask questions. And if you're fine in taking some questions, we'll do that, because this is a question. A lot of times, people, especially Americans, if you don't understand something, it's human nature to be negative about it. Or if you've heard one story or seen one headline. But are there peaceful Muslims?
There are peaceful Muslims. I will not put all Muslims in categories, because I will separate peaceful Muslims than the militant Muslims, like these terrorist groups, for example, Hezbollah, for example, Hamas. These are the extreme people, and they have no mercy. They don't know kindness. But there are peaceful Muslims exist.
She might want to talk a little bit about your father, and because her family would be the peaceful family, and how
my father, and so, well, my family is still Muslim, traditional Muslim in Afghanistan.
They still live there.
They still live there. They are peaceful Muslim. They are pro-United States. They sacrificed their whole life to help me, the United States military in Afghanistan. My father supported Marine and Special Forces, Green Beret in Afghanistan, finding Bin Laden there in Fob Fenty.
I mean, it's an incredible story that just it continues to get better. Your family still lives there. How have they been left alone, especially after the United States left, and especially after it was well known that there was a bounty put on your family's head?
There were a lot of my friends who was trying to help me, but as I mentioned, it is just a tough journey, very difficult, facing a lot of obstacles, risking my life, my whole family life. It was not easy, but Kyle Wilkins, who was the one that truly helped me to get me out of Afghanistan with my special SIV, he did his best to get my family out of Afghanistan, but it never happened. They came to the airport multiple times, but they got beat up and they went back home. And then after that, I got connected with Miss Lurie Drury, that she was trying to help my family get them out, but it was not easy.
I could speak on that a little bit.
Please, yeah, please do.
So, prior to meeting Zizi, I was already working with an organization who was trying to get out at-risk Afghans, mostly women's activists, children, of course, anybody that was like what we called high risk from the Taliban. And I had been calling all of our representatives and senators asking for help to try to move these families out, working in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. on my laptop, and had contacted Nick Schroer, who is now our Missouri state senator, and had asked him for help to contact as many people like Josh Hawley to see if we could help. At that time, we had moved almost 120 people in the middle of the night by taxis, by planes, by any way means necessary into Pakistan, into safe houses, and had facilitated getting them passports and visas so they could stay in Pakistan, hoping that at some point move them to a safer country. So after he heard about my story and I had reached out to have him help, he asked me if I could in turn help someone that was living in St. Peter's. So I asked her to come over to my house. And at that time, I will say, her English was not that great. She has, the last 3 years here in the United States, it's been incredible to watch her journey with just learning our slang.
Yeah, that's
and just the things that we take for granted that we say. So she came over and told us her story, and I agreed to help her family. So that journey was very difficult because at that time, Western Union wasn't open. There were no banks open. All the embassies are closed. So to try to get any monetary help into that country was very difficult. I was working with an organization, a charity organization out of New Jersey, with a pastor who is a Purple Heart recipient from the Vietnam War. And this is his passion, is to go into war-torn areas and help people. So we had a way to get money into her sister, and she had to put her full family's lives in my hands in order to do that, because they weren't leaving their hiding places. They were staying put or moving from house to house because they were being chased by the Taliban. So we were able to get enough money in and to get passports for them and visas. And we had everything ready to go, car waiting to take them into Pakistan. But she didn't feel comfortable with that because Taliban still has a very big hold in Pakistan.
Of course.
So we just moved into a support role and started using money. You have to understand, she's being very kind about this, but her family doesn't have electric. They live off rice and beans.
Is there a goal? Is there a plan in place to try to bring them to the United States at some point in time?
So the immigration system is very difficult.
It is?
It's extremely difficult.
I thought
Can't you just
I
bring
didn't
them
know
through
that
the southern
I
border,
didn't know we
Lori?
had an immigration system in the
Well,
United States anymore.
Amen to that. But so she needs to be a U.S. citizen to really be able to have any pull. She's got 2 years left, and she's already starting to work on everything she needs to do, and then she can apply. And I believe I would love to have anybody that's an immigration specialist try to help her, but at this point, I think the closest person she could get would be her mother, and then I don't think maybe unmarried siblings.
Wait a minute, you have to explain this for me again. Today I'm really slow and I'm sorry.
Okay.
Who has 2 years left for what?
Zizi has 2 years left to get her citizenship.
Oh my God.
Wow,
I know.
that's a disgrace. I mean, and we're
Right.
not. This is not
Oh,
about.
it makes my blood boil.
Me
So she
too.
gets her U.S. citizenship, and then what can Zizi do once
She can apply to, like I said, it's very difficult. She can apply
for family?
For family.
Yeah.
to
Okay, I
come.
got it.
She has to become almost like a host for herself
Yeah.
to have the family come. So
Wow.
And then we have governors of states. How does it make you feel when you've done everything that you possibly can Zizi, and you see people like, let's go with Pritzker in Illinois. He is the governor of Illinois, and he is opening illegals into his state, offering them jobs, offering them police jobs. And he's not the only governor around this country giving people stipends for money, housing, food. You see it.
Well, when I see some of the people like that, that makes me sad and make me think of my family, which I already think about my family, and that's my main concern here. Obviously, that hurts when I sacrifice how much I have accomplished for the United States government, and my family is still left behind.
Yeah, that has to be very hard to take, because I'm sure if you turn on any news media, you see our border wide open, people just flooding in with I'm sure very bad intentions. And then you and your family has done everything good for the US troops,
Yes.
and you can't get them over here.
No.
What would be a total cost of something of that nature? Is there an idea yet? That was a question that we had, Lori, which is why I asked.
So they do have their passports, and they would have to get a visa to a country, and that's the difficult part because there's no, way to get the visas except for the Pakistani visas. So they'd have to go to Pakistan, and then they would have to be able to get a visa to the United States. So I know I read something, it's been a little while, about a new program that the government just started, I would say the last 6 months, for hosting families. And I believe it was $2,500 a person to come here, and then you would be responsible for them, which is interesting because we give so many other people who come here with nothing all the resources, pay for their housing, pay for their medical.
At the expense of current legal Americans as well.
And now she's here, and we're dealing with her health insurance, trying to get that started, and her family can't come here, and we can't pay for them to come here.
And Zizi, you support yourself with your talks. Is that how you're doing that right now?
I support myself with my talks, and also I'm a translator with the bilingual international company.
Are you still working with the United States military in any way, special forces,
I
anything
would
with education?
love to work with the United States military. I'm really
It just seems like
big.
it would work very
Yes.
well, especially right now, which is why I was
Yes.
thinking.
I would love to work with them, and I have so much respect for the United States military, for all the branches, and I have good experience with every one of them, with every single branches. But I have to get like the top secret security clearance, and I have to be a U.S. citizen. Still like to work with them, but I would love to work with them. I love that job.
Knowing you, I'm sure you will be able to do that. Unfortunately, there's 2 years left before you become a citizen.
Yeah.
But I see in your future that is something that's going to happen.
Oh yes, that's my
100%.
biggest dream, to go back and get involved with the government and also with the military, because I think I can use my language skills and culture expertise of the Middle East and South Central Asian countries to benefit the United States government.
What do you think of politics in the United States?
Well, I'm not involved in the politics. I'm just an independent person, and
That's why I asked, because you see what happens here.
I do see a lot of what happens, and most of the things that I think about of the United States, that's like overseas.
Yeah, and we've screwed up a lot, haven't we?
It happens.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, I know, and that's why I want to love my country, but I also have to be honest about it. And we've screwed up a lot, and we're not some amazing country. We want to believe in, oh yes, red, white, and blue, but it's just not true.
Honestly, like I just love America, and this is wonderful and the greatest country ever.
We need to hear that.
And I truly like advise and tell that and share this opinion with every single nation of this country. They should be appreciative of what they have around themselves. They have an access to free educations. They have an access to go to school without of like being having fear to get killed. They have an access to drive cars around. We didn't have that kind of privileges in Afghanistan.
That's her favorite thing to
They
do.
have
drive a car.
yes,
a car.
they have freedom, the most important thing. If you don't have a freedom in a country, you cannot be a successful person. You cannot achieve and pursue your dreams. So they should be.
Did you get your driver's license?
Oh my gosh, yes, I did.
My husband taught her how to drive.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, and to Vic's point, there's a lot of Americans now that feel like, Vic, that our country is a former shell of itself. I'm still with you. There's nowhere you can go that there is a country better than here.
Yeah.
No.
There is nowhere. And we are not as good as we used to be. That's why we have to fight to get it to where it used to be. But in your case, who lived somewhere else.
And I was talking about our current government with how we look across seas and Afghanistan.
100%.
And Ukraine and China. We're not what we were just 3 years ago.
That is very true. That is very true.
She is living with us now at the Drury home. And it's every day is a blessing. And, you never think you in a million years will be in the situation where you have someone from Afghanistan living with you in the middle of St. Peter's.
Yeah.
It's just, I always say it's a God thing. I kind of opened myself up to God and said, use me, and you better put on your seatbelt, because he whispered Afghanistan. And I was like, huh?
Yeah, huh? What do you mean by that?
What do you mean Afghanistan? And so here we are 3 years later. And my husband did teach her how to drive. He said she was his best student.
That is awesome. That is so awesome.
She was so excited when she got her license.
Oh my gosh.
Her favorite thing to do would be to drive her car to college. And she would drive on days that they weren't going to class, because it was such a privilege for her to drive and to be able to go to college. And she would go to the St. Charles Community College and just sit in the parking lot.
Yep.
And be blessed and thankful for everything that she's been given.
Yeah, it gives me chills. Zizi, do you have a website yet, or do you have an opportunity for people to reach out to you so that you can speak and or be a resource for people?
Of course. I have a website, my website called zamzamasafi.com.
Okay, and that's ZAMZAMA?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
SAFI?
Yes.
Zama? Or ZamZamaSafi.com.
.com.
That's ZAMZAMA then ZAMA SAFI.
Yes.
She's also on
.com.
Facebook. So
And on Facebook as well, because it's a perfect match.
Yes.
It's for you to do this and to help educate people.
Oh, of course. I would love to do that because I came from a war zone. I grew up in a war. I'm very well familiar with that kind of situation and the blessings that I have in the United States.
I have to ask because it popped in my head, and I was going to ask it earlier when Lizzie asked you a really good question. We have recently been told by our own FBI, by our own Department of Justice in the United States, be aware, keep your head on a swivel, because there could be, quote, terrorist attacks within the United States, literally telling us that Middle Easterners have come through the southern border, people who mean intent. Their intent is harm. They are radical Muslim, and they are coming here to start whatever they can.
Who led them to come in?
Yeah, our government.
Who's
did.
responsible to stop them? So the FBI, I told you the FBI is responsible to stop like the domestic attack in the United States.
So the question on the end of that is, can you see that happening here?
It could be. It's possible.
You won't know about it.
That is something that seriously concerns me, because there are too many younger military-aged men, single men, showing up in the border, coming from other countries, coming from the Middle East into our country. And I'm like, okay, what's the intent here?
As an immigrant, my advice to all immigrants, when they come and they get all these benefits, they should be appreciative of the United States government. They shouldn't misuse that.
That was a good answer.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, to me, it sounds like that she thinks it can happen, and that the people that come here may or may not even be appreciative of everything that they get here.
Anything else you want to let our viewers and or listeners know before we let you go? I mean, you've been amazing, but I just want to give you a platform.
Thank you very much, but I will end my interview here with a message of never give up, no matter what happened in your life. Be determined and always be strong to overcome. Everything is possible if we have strong dreams, and if we are determined and we have strong goals and we have aims, we can be what we want to be in the future, and never give up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ZZ. We appreciate you guys. Lori, thank you for everything you've done and your family, and bringing ZZ in and doing everything that you have. So we're grateful for that. Thank you guys. And we'll once again, it's Zamzama. That's ZAMZAMA SAFI.com.
Yes.
ZamzamaSafi.com.
Yes.
For speaking engagements and or anything else. Guys, thank you so much for coming in today. All right.
Thank you very much.
Let us know if you want to do it again.
All right. Well, my brain is spinning. I got ideas. And of course, when you get a chance, go back and look at the comment line. A lot of support for you and also questions as well. Okay.
Okay, of course. Thank
All right.
you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is cancelthisshow.com. I'm Vic Faust with Lizzie Sparks and Projo. It really makes you, at least me, again, appreciate and put things in perspective in regards to what we have in this country, what it was like. This woman, just for trying to learn English, brutalized. And then, of course, she gets the win in the end, learns English and speaks it so fluently, and is now helping so many other people.
Well, and there's people right here in America that have to help these people. Lori, that was standing there, is very, very modest, but she herself is a nurse, so she gives all the time. Her husband is a retired police officer. Her son is a police officer in St. Peter's. So we need families like Lori that is just selfless, even in their everyday occupation.
And it is interesting. Hey, Projo, when you get a chance, because somebody else brought this up and we have video of it from the airport over the weekend. I mean, you're talking about, there's so much hate for Jews, and obviously Zizi wasn't here speaking from a Jewish perspective, but she was speaking from a perspective of hate all around, and hate coming from radicalized Muslims. And I mean, we literally had a situation over the weekend where you had a province, an area of Russia they literally took over the airport because they heard a flight of Jews was arriving. They were looking to find them, to kill them. And this is what's going on around the world. You think it's 2023. Oh, we're a civilized world, or we can have some civilization somewhere. I mean, this is video of it. You can just play it, Joe, as we talk over it. You see. This is what's happening around the world. This in Russia.
That's scary.
I mean, look at that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a massive mob on steroids that you would not want to be around. Can you imagine what would happen if they found Jews in that airport? The anger, the craziness.
Mm-hmm.
And Projo also, when we get a chance, will pop up the rally from London on Friday. This is from Russia. We talked about the hate worldwide, also in the United States with the rallies that we've shown in Los Angeles, in Chicago, in Detroit, of course. There was a small rally in St. Louis. These things are happening. How about London? And we've been told that London has completely changed, that it's like a Muslim country now. And when we show you the video of that, it'll blow your freaking mind. This is what's happening. The streets packed in full.
Mm-hmm.
And these aren't people just pro-Palestine. This is a rally of end the Jews. That's what this is right here as we show it to you. Look at the streets. That's London. That is an anti-Israel rally.
That is so scary.
In the streets of freaking London.
Yes.
If
London.
that doesn't put things in perspective, I don't know what would or what does.
Yeah.
Terry says, why doesn't it sound like the Russian language from the video that we were just showing?
Isn't that interesting? It isn't. We talked about it a little bit last week. My son was in Paris and he came home early, as I figured that he would. He said, what you visualize is Paris is not what you see when you get there. He even went to a Michelin restaurant and he said he paid so much money for such disappointment. They came home 2 days early and wanted to kiss the ground of America.
And when you look at some of the, and Projo, this is the last video I need before we bring Gabe in. Can you pop up that picture of the net worth? If you don't think these terror cells aren't funded from an international standpoint as well as anybody, think again. I mean, just to give you a perspective of what people are worth. Obviously, you can look at our list. For our listeners who can't see the graphic, Taylor Swift, 1.1 billion. Oprah Winfrey, 2.7 billion. Donald Trump, 2 to 3 billion, despite all of those gag order fines he's getting from that ultra liberal judge in New York. And then you look at the next three on that list. Those are all leaders of Hamas. 3 billion, 3.5 billion, $4 to $5 billion.
They all have more than Taylor, Oprah, and Donald.
And you know where that money is going for the causes
100%.
that they are getting so badly. Yeah. I mean, Greg says, can anyone give a straight answer why the Jewish community is hated so badly? Christianity, Judaism, and Muslim are all children of the Abrahamic faiths.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Angie says we were told to stay away from London over the weekend. London is the same way. Coming from Aaron, looks like Gaza now. And of course, Terry says, those are some of the situations that are going on. But hey, they're over the weekend. We try to cover it and show you the things that are actually happening, breaking it down, not just surface level, but diving into topics to have educated decisions. We're all are welcome here where we talk about the issues to try to educate everybody. Interesting. Glenn says, where's Soros on the list? Yeah, I didn't see him on the list either.
I didn't see him either.
And Eric says it's time to go after the snakeheads. Yeah, it just, all of these things happening over and over and over again. This is cancelthisshow.com. I'm Vic Faust with Lizzie Sparks, Projo in the house as well. This is the October 30 livecast, the podcast. You know what we do Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 a.m. Central, and all the time on our website, cancelthisshow.com. News headlines, politics, cancel culture education Fridays. We have fun. You can also check out our website, cancelthisshow.com, for all of our original content, plus all of the viewing platforms, the listening platforms. And of course, you can also check out our website, where we have our merchandise as well. You can get on there, hats, shirts, cups, glasses, you name it. Also got our Cancel This Coffee, which you can jump in as well. We're always looking for you to join this live cast as well. Your opinions, your thoughts, your ideas, that's what makes it a little different, a little special, is that we invite you in. Even though 98% of the views and listens that we get happen when we're not live, the 3% or whatever we get, you guys make the show. And there's still a lot of you throughout all of the platforms jumping in and giving us your opinion. We try to entertain, we try to inform, and of course you guys do it with us as well, as we like to talk about as well. And we also try to bring in guests that we have as well, and get you a perspective of some of the things that are going on in the world right now. We have fun, but we also get serious on some of those issues that also happen. Before we get to our next guest, because we're getting them set up, Projo, I had one other question for you. Can we run one more video before we get to Gabe?
Sure.
And just, I wanted to finish up what's happening over the weekend when it comes to the whole situation. And it's like a 2.5-minute interview with a Canadian reporter where they did an investigation. You're so damn good, Joe.
Yeah, he is.
You're so fast.
Yeah, he
Hey,
is.
That's why
Joe is awesome.
That's why they call him Projo. By the way, he was supposed to be Joe Pro in the beginning, and I backed it.
No,
the
it was
wrong way.
me. It was me.
Oh,
Because
okay.
people normally call me Joe Pro, but here I'm Producer Joe.
Okay. I wanted to play this before we get to Gabe, just to give a perspective of a Canadian reporter who's been covering the Middle East and what she has seen regarding Hamas and Israel.
We've been on the ground here in Israel for the past several days, and I've seen a lot. And frankly, this has been one big myth-busting trip. I came here with an open mind, and I thought, I'm open to see anything, to hear from everyone. We've heard a lot of different opinions, do not get me wrong. We've talked to Palestinians, we've talked to pollsters, we've talked to Israeli members of the Knesset, we've talked to journalists, we've talked to people from the right, left, pro-Palestinian, pro-Israel, two-state solution, one-state solution. Hell, there is no solution. Let me tell you some of the things that we found out while we were here. The security wall, it's not a wall. It's a giant fence. Only about 5% of it is a wall. We found that Palestinians can actually freely come into Israel so long as they're not carrying any pipe bombs or explosive vests. They have to go through the sort of security that's akin to essentially going through an airport. You know who can't go the other way? Yeah, it's actually the Jews. It's actually Israelis. They can't go into Zone A. They can't go into the Palestinian, one part of the West Bank. That's according to essentially self-prohibition, but also because they know that if they go in there, there's a very good chance they will die. I'm a Christian. I really would have liked to see Bethlehem while I was here, you know, where my Lord and Savior was born. Can't. There's a giant minaret there right now. And actually there are posters all over the place of suicide bombers who are essentially exalted by the populace around now Muslim-controlled Palestinian Bethlehem. I should mention, by the way, that also behind me is an Israeli military hospital where they treat just Israelis. No, they actually treat a lot of Syrians there. Syrian women who from ages 8 to 80 have been brutally raped by ISIS. I came here believing in the two-state solution. I really did. I am at a point now where I frankly do not. I believe in a one-state solution. I believe that the only way that this little sliver, a sliver of land that could fit into one of the smallest states, New Jersey, the only way that this little piece of sand, these rocks, will remain free is if Israelis are in control of it. Because I'm worried that if you allow any portion of the West Bank or otherwise to become under Palestinian PLO, essentially terrorist or let alone Hamas control, it's going to look like that. You know, we've been on the ground.
One perspective from people who are covering the war and being over there. Obviously, as we've talked about on this show, whether people want to get into conspiracy theories or not, you have to be careful about certain people trying to play war, because we know there are people in this country and this world who do want war, and they will play Israelis against Palestinians who are peaceful and get the outcome that they want. But just one other perspective that we had from that standpoint. Once again, this is cancelthisshow.com. We're grateful for you guys joining us every day. Special thanks to Complete Auto Body and Repair for being a show sponsor. 7 locations throughout the St. Louis metropolitan area. Climate controlled if you're looking for a job and a technician. And if you're looking for sales, if you're looking to work in the towing industry, they have over 60 jobs still available right now. You can contact Sandy Travis and let them know that you heard about it on cancelthisshow.com. Also, special thanks to Experience Realty Partners, Kathy Helbig-Strick, Steve Strick. As this whole industry is up in arms when it comes to real estate, you don't want to do it by yourself. You need experience, and that's what Kathy and her team brings. You can give them a call at 314-276-SOLD, 314-276-SOLD. When you do call, let them know that you heard about them and watch them here on Wednesdays with cancelthisshow.com. They're not going to try to lock you in. It's like, listen, if you need some advice, we're here for you. We want you to know that we do know more than anybody else. And right now there are some trying times. And of course, that trial continues, arguably the most important trial ever in the history of real estate going on in Kansas City right now. And of course, on Wednesday, Kathy and Steve will be here to give us an update on what's happening when it comes to fees and when it comes to selling and just how it's going to affect people all over the board. And of course, Route 66, as we have Ham, the owner, Hamid Amra, who comes in every Wednesday to talk about the Weed Wednesday segments when it comes to Route 66, the different products that Ostera offers, and how you can be helped with certain issues using marijuana instead of using pharmaceuticals. Again, Route 66. We're grateful for their support as well. We'll be talking with Ham come Wednesday. Switching gears a little bit now, grateful to have attorney Gabe Crocker in studio with us today. Gabe, you bring a very interesting perspective because you're a former cop, you're a former detective, you've been involved in some of the most serious cases you could imagine, and then you went back to school and became a criminal defense attorney, and you offer so many different opportunities as a lawyer. Just wanted you to introduce yourself and tell us and our listeners and our viewers a little bit about who you are, what you do now, and then we'll talk about your experience because it is certainly a different one. And it seems like it's leading to a ton of success in what you're doing in the courtroom.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I've had a lot of really, really good results for my clients. And I thank you both for having me on the show, Vic, for reaching out. And I know we've talked about this for a while coming in. As you said, I started my first grown-up job was as a police officer back in 2002, and it was actually the September 11th attacks that kept me here. I was looking at spreading my wings a little bit beyond St. Louis and was in the process with the Los Angeles police as well as the Las Vegas Police Department. Then September 11th happened. And once I graduated from college, I started a job with the St. Louis County Police Department, and I worked there for 17 years, 17 really, really good years with a lot of really wonderful people. And so what happened is, I was a union president, and certainly there are some folks that, appreciated the work that I did in that role. And then there are certainly individuals generally, I would say more of the management side of things that weren't always really happy with me. I'm really honored to say, though, as a side note to that some of the biggest and some of the most common referrals, Vic, are from commanders that I dealt with when I was the president of the police union.
That's great.
It's an interesting well, it's a fact. I mean, they send me quite a bit of business, and I really, I'm honored by that. So we made it through Ferguson. I don't mean to gloss over that, but I mean, that's just a rabbit hole conversation in and of itself. And I did a lot of media during that time. And then I also kind of saw the writing on the wall that maybe I'm not going to, climb out of the position that I was in at the police department or gain rank. So I decided to go to law school, and then I've applied those skills and the things that I've learned in law school and then throughout my career to do a lot of criminal defense. I also do personal injury, car accidents, things like that, workers' compensation. I represent, I think, in the neighborhood of, it's got to be, I would say, because cases do come in and cases close, but I mean, probably 60 to 70 injured police officers and first responders throughout St. Louis. So a huge portion of my practice is still dedicated to first responders. But as you pointed out, one of the weird things is that I used to be a police officer. I used to arrest people and certainly follow their cases through the criminal justice system to where, a point where in many cases, some of the folks that I was arresting when I was on the FBI task force and worked in our detective bureau are still in prison, and they will be in prison for quite some time. And I'm really proud of that. But at the same time, I'm absolutely very, very proud of the work that I do as a criminal defense attorney. And I've never had an issue where police officers expressed some type of disdain or they go, well, how in the world could you possibly do that? It's important to remember that our criminal justice system is far from perfect, but it is certainly one of the best that, it's the best that we have. Right. And it's one of the better criminal justice systems in the entire world. So I'm honored to represent people who are oftentimes forced into that system. And a lot of times, often people don't understand that when you are accused of a crime, just how overwhelming that can be. When you're accused of doing something wrong, whether or not it's a crime or not. The name of this show, of course, Cancel This. I mean, that I have represented some other folks in media. I've represented very high-end clients, doctors, and things of that nature where I'm solving problems for them. And you and I both know other attorneys that are around. There's certainly no shortage of some of the best attorneys in the Midwest that are focused here in St. Louis. You've done stories on them in the past. I'm honored to kind of follow in their footsteps, but at the same time, kind of chart my own course in that I'm not afraid to come on and talk about some things. I'm not afraid to talk about cases as long as I'm doing it within, the rules. So I'm now putting together the 5th anniversary of the Crocker Law Firm. I'm putting a little get together. I'll certainly have some invites out to you guys. And here I am. I'm still talking about the stuff that I did as a police officer. I'm talking about the stuff that I do as an attorney. So
I'm Gabe Crocker with us today, attorney Gabe Crocker. Do you miss police work?
I miss parts of it. I do, because there's a lot of good that goes on there. I'm very proud of the work that I did and the people that I worked with. Many of them still, work. Many of them still work there at that police department, and I'm friends with many of them. They send me a lot of clients, but I don't miss what it has become, if that makes sense, because, I've seen a lot of, and I teach courses at a university and have for 17 years in criminal behavior and policing. And, this semester I'm teaching a course in criminal law. And so I'm not only in touch with students, but I'm in touch with practitioners of police work as well. So I really do have, I think, what is a really, really interesting viewpoint as it pertains to how I look at the law and how I represent my clients.
I love the fact that you come on and you answer direct questions, and you're not somebody that's
no, not really.
I mean, but if you're a criminal defense attorney, one of the first things people do is, how can you represent somebody if you feel, if you know, or feel that they're guilty?
Well,
especially being a former cop.
Well, I think it is one of the easiest questions for a defense attorney to answer.
Okay.
And that is that I really do believe this. It's the United States Constitution.
Okay.
It's a pretty powerful document. And when you're representing somebody who is facing maybe public scrutiny, private scrutiny, legal scrutiny, perhaps facing, 20 years in prison. These are game-changing situations that people are in. And I'm honored because a lot of the criminal defense work that I do is actually representing police officers. Right? So, I mean, if you're a police officer and you shoot somebody in the line of duty, and let's just put a crystal ball out there and say that it's a justified shooting. There are no, there would be no issues or concerns, no political ideologies interfering. It's on video. This is a great, officer involved. This was a perfect use of force. It just happened to be deadly force. That police officer still needs somebody to represent them. And so oftentimes where I find myself, in various points of the day is, trying to put a suit on and, fix my hair and talk on the phone to somebody who's just been involved in an officer involved shooting and then driving to their location. So, I mean, this year I've been everywhere from Cape to Columbia and around St. Louis representing police officers involved in critical incidents.
Well, since you know the police force so well, being a former cop and representing them, what do you think's the biggest challenge facing law enforcement these
boy.
days? I mean, because I mean, we
Yeah.
talk about things, and
Well,
we are definitely a pro-blue show here when
Sure.
it comes to our police,
Absolutely.
when it comes to our military, and it frustrates us, but you're living that situation every day.
Well, I want to say that I'm not, I used to be the president of a police union. I'm still a member, but I don't represent them in that context anymore. But I could say individually, certainly the violence against police officers is a problem. I think I always want to be careful on shows like this because I have really long answers, so I try to shorten things up. I am not the only person who can say, here's what the problem is in law enforcement. But if I'm applying or looking at it through my lens, one of the issues that I see is the recruiting. Recruiting is a major problem in law enforcement throughout the United States. And unfortunately, this is because of some of the things that have happened in a post George Floyd, post Ferguson world. It is okay, and we should, as law enforcement officers, should not hesitate so much to say, hey, there are some things that we can do better. But what I can tell you is that the government, the elected officials, really pushed so hard into law enforcement reform that I think it's created a situation where you have the public who are not very heavily supportive of law enforcement officers. And then what we're having is a recruiting problem, right? And you have this recruiting problem, and it's been explained by some chiefs that, we're not lowering our standards. We're broadening our horizons. And I couldn't disagree any more with that statement. I did not encounter a lot of corruption. I saw some things that were wrong. I was called into internal affairs. I've been accused of things. But where I take issue is in trying to professionalize law enforcement by adding body cameras, by changing certain laws, by removing something that a lot of folks don't give consideration to. And that is something called discretion. When you remove discretion from a law enforcement officer's hands, you're removing a really, really useful tool. So you're saying now when you show up at the scene, so I'll give you an example. Listen, I can say anything I want because I didn't do anything wrong, but there is more than one way to skin a cat, right? Isn't that the saying?
Yeah, that's the saying. That's the saying.
So I've just said, I remember pulling over somebody who may have been a borderline DWI case. Mm-hmm. But I was able to solve that problem through another means. Maybe they were close to home, and again, we can talk about letting people go and we can get real heavy. And I'm talking about the topic here is when you eliminate the ability for police officers to use discretion, it really, it does not do that profession any good because you start to force people into the criminal justice system who otherwise in many cases wouldn't have been, excepting for the body camera that's recording something or the in-car camera video and no police officer wants to make a decision that's going to come back and result in them being terminated because the person that they let go ends up being connected or ends up knowing the friend of a friend of a friend. That is real problematic. So I think recruiting is a huge issue. I think lowering the standards to allow people, certain types of people with certain types of backgrounds, right? I mean, that we've got to remove those people from these processes. What I'm being told, and I could say easily, 3 or 4 of the largest police departments in the state of Missouri, who I've had conversations with people in and around recruiting or, people in management levels saying that it's frightening, some of the folks that are getting hired. I don't want people to get mad at me because I'm saying that sometimes we're not hiring the best. But in that post-George Floyd world, with the changes in law enforcement, we need to be increasing police officer pay. We need to be increasing police officer benefits. I've been a staunch advocate for that. And one of the things that we really, really need to do in law enforcement is, this is going to get me in trouble, but we have
then go for it.
We have to stop over-serving the public. We are asking constantly in law enforcement for money, for, various things and fundraisers and injured police officers and all that. And that is great. But at the same time, we're forced by local representatives and politicians to engage in some levels of enforcement, which don't do us any favors with the same people who were asking to support us. Does that make sense? I mean, I think when you over police and we've had some problems with municipal police departments, about how much money some of these courts make. I can tell you that that is still in some cases going on. Mm-hmm. And I would like to see that kind of stuff stop, because I think when you have police officers who are solely focused on expired temp tags, by the way, a problem that the state of Missouri created, not the people who are being cited.
It really did.
I mean, they're talking now about you go out and enforce all these temp tags. I represented somebody in your industry who came to me with a couple of tickets, and it was because they couldn't get a temp tag for their vehicle. When, so are we enforcing that, and we're writing more? We're not providing people, they're paying their taxes, they're doing this, they're doing that, but we don't have a plate to give them. Then we enforce that. And I'm just saying that I'm not a big fan of really pushing police officers. I think we should be, hiring more quality at a higher rate of pay and providing less of I'm so sorry to say this the way I have to say it, but we need to decrease some of the overhead that we're putting onto the brave men and women who are serving in law enforcement.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that came out of the early 90s. This is really heady, but a lot of this came out of the 90s when there were law enforcement grants available. So in order for a lot of these agencies to get those grants, they had to beef up their numbers. Mm-hmm. Well, what else can we ask police officers to do? Oh, I know, there's a water main break. Well, can't the water company go out there? No, we're going to send a policeman too. Oh, there might be a power line down somewhere. Okay, I get it. Have a police officer check, but can't the electric company do that? Right? So we continue to pile on, more and more tasks, and then ask the police officers, why is it that while you were working overnight, some cars were broken into in your area? And I'm thinking, well, because you sent them around on a bunch of busy work all night instead of letting them do their job. So that's just just have one opinion. But I think that it's fair. And I think that if we were to think headier about law enforcement issues and not so just, it's one side or the other, it's enforcement or not, it's, anti-law enforcement, militarized weapons, and all of these things that police officers need to stay safe. I think that rhetoric is dangerous and it's silly, but we haven't really solved a lot of the problems in law enforcement. When we had an officer involved shooting, there would oftentimes be controversies about whether or not that officer's conduct or that officer's actions were acceptable or legal or justified. At the same time, we, are really just kicking the can down the road, because now you have police officers who are involved in shootings with body cameras on and suspects pointing guns at them, and they're still getting fired and still facing criminal charges. And now they're just recording themselves engaged in these life and death situations, which require split second thinking with lifelong, lasting repercussions.
So, Gabe, when a police officer gets accused of something and say you defend them,
Sure.
One of our listeners asked, who pays for that? Does the officer themselves have to pay for that, or does the city pay for that?
It's a combination, or it can be any combination of a couple of different things. One is generally we have a very, very strong presence in the St. Louis region of the Fraternal Order of Police, the FOP. It's a great organization, and I do legal work for them. There are legal plans affiliated with law enforcement groups. There are other independent legal plans that some police officers can subscribe to. Mm-hmm. And then in some cases, law enforcement agencies have hired me. I've represented police officers who were involved in a really, really it just bone chilling. That's the thing. Some of these officer involved shootings, you never are able to capture in local news or news reports what actually, happened and what those individuals are going through. And having a grown man or a grown woman tear up in front of you or struggle or shake because they've just taken somebody's life is one of the most serious things. And then on top of it, they might face criminal charges or the civil lawsuit, or they might face the Missouri Police Officers and Standards and Trainings Commission going after their license. So they can be sued, they can be investigated internally, they can be investigated criminally at the state level, at a local level, at the federal level. It is an absolute tidal wave of litigation against police officers for making split-second decisions. And it's an honor for me to represent the officers that I do. And I'm honored to work amongst a lot of other lawyers in the St. Louis area who really do focus a lot of their attention on representing first responders.
We're talking with criminal defense attorney Gabe Crocker. You're located in the Clayton, Missouri area. There's a new texting and driving law out.
Uh-huh.
Could you break that down for our viewers and listeners?
Hey, straight answer here. I'm not going to break that down, but I'm going to tell you I'm not the biggest fan of it. I know about safety and I understand all of the background of that law. Okay. I understand it and I appreciate it. And I know that there are good things. And yes, texting is dangerous. There are a lot of other things that are dangerous. And it gets to a point where I do get concerned at times about how much we're enforcing or how much we're over enforcing. And then oftentimes the only people that are paying the fines, like, red light cameras, we're trying to go back to red light cameras, like stepping back into the past. The Constitution says you have a right to confront your accuser. And I don't know how you confront a
red light,
a Dell, a computer that took your, allegedly took your photo. I'm not a fan of those things because they're really just designed for money. And the only people that pay are generally the people that are following the law and have their vehicle properly registered to begin with.
I've got to interrupt you here. I'm going to tell you, this drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. We love police. We just talked about this. One thing that drives me crazy is on Sunday mornings when I'm going to mass and I'm with my kids, every Sunday morning, no matter where I am throughout the St. Louis metro area, there are police on the roads and they are clocking on Sunday freaking mornings. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen this or if anybody's ever brought this up to you, but I've talked with people in my life and they've witnessed it with me. Yeah. And they're like, yep, Sunday morning. To me, I'm like, and I saw one yesterday. Somebody was hiding on a Sunday morning as we're driving to church.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
getting the church people, giving a ticket
I don't know. Am I off base for saying this?
No, you're not. But I don't think the police officers are off base for being out there because they're the ones that are getting the pressure, usually from the top down.
Correct.
And if it's sitting in a neighborhood at a stop sign,
why is it on a Sunday morning when the only people that are out are people going to church?
Well, because that's when the people are complaining. We kind of tattletale our way right into maybe a little more enforcement. And that's listen, if somebody's driving dangerously and a police officer observes them, they go up, they go, hey, can I have your license and insurance card? And the person's, very, upset or whatever. And they're going, listen, I was on my phone and I was da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Then I say, you know what? Write that person a ticket. Yeah. If you observed them, then but if we're just driving around, creeping, around people and waiting for them to hold their phone, and then it's a $500 ticket. I just don't know that that's doing us any good as if there's no public safety component to it. If it's just, again, I'm not stepping on anybody. Please create laws, work with legislators. But remember, when it comes to representing police officers, it's not the most popular profession.
Yeah, no.
And then when we have to go out and then, constantly prove our self-worth as a police officer by the number of tickets that we write, that's oftentimes not the patrol officer. That's not the young patrol officer's fault. That's their supervisor's fault. That's the chief's fault. That's the mayor's fault for pushing productivity as the only way of determining a police officer's true effectiveness. If somebody writes 10 tickets a day, I will tell you that widely throughout law enforcement, they would be considered a much better proactive police officer by their command staff for writing 10 tickets a day than having 10 good citizen contacts a day.
Damn.
Wow.
Right? Right?
Wow.
Yeah, I love police.
I do too. No, nothing here is anti-law enforcement.
Yes.
It's about having conversation and having dialogue. And I know one of the things I mentioned, it just came up briefly with one of your sponsors. I'm having one hell of a time. Wait, can I cuss on that? I can.
We have no regulations.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
that is
Cuss
wonderful.
away. Cuss away.
If it feels right.
The hell
do it.
you say. See, I've got a real
Let it
potty
rip.
mouth. No, I think that police and government are so far behind sometimes in things, and it's the law enforcement quaking to move forward, to do things better, to do things quicker. But oftentimes they're not allowed to do that because of our governmental structure. So I'm just saying that, I forgot what what was the question that you asked, Vic?
We were talking about the situation regarding, first of all, police sitting on Sunday morning.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm just saying that when we're doing those kind of things, oftentimes that's not just because a police officer's doing it, it's because they're being told to do it. And I just think there's a better, more efficient way of utilizing our police officers, and not just to stoke numbers that justify budgets. I think it's time to take a real good look at. I would rather have, 100 police officers making $100,000 a year than I would have 60 police officers making $40,000 a year.
Yeah,
right.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Hey, and doing some research for you, you have to get into this if you can really quick. Just some of the cases and things that you do. You just had a massive case in Iron County, which could be a Hollywood script. And has that finalized?
No, that's still ongoing. It's
been well publicized.
Yeah,
as well,
sure.
And
I've talked about it a little bit in the media, and I'll only talk about it briefly here today and say that, it's a very complicated case. Tony Messenger from the Post-Dispatch has done some very impressive journalistic, like actual investigative journalism.
Wow, that's great.
Into $3 million missing dollars that my client was looking into in Iron County, and then subsequently was charged with some crimes in Washington County. So I'm under, there's a pending request by the state to issue a gag order against me for talking about that case. So I'm not saying anything here today beyond that, but I do recall, and I'm not just trying to change the subject, but I remembered what I was going to talk about a second ago. One of your sponsors, I am having just one hell of a time representing first responders who have, in one way, shape, or form, and yes, this is the defense attorney side of me coming out, who have had THC or the active chemical compound in marijuana in their system. And, you used to not even be able to get hired on a police department if you had tried marijuana within 5 or 10 years. And now we're hiring people that use it regularly. That surprisingly, I'm kind of okay with, right? What I'm not okay with is the expansive availability of this completely legal, recreational and medically legal product. And, a police officer can be prescribed, 30, 60, 90 Percocets. And it's just not an issue. Take them, enjoy them, hope your back feels better. But if your wife gives you a little tincture of CBD oil and it, was made probably in China or overseas, and somewhere a barcode got displaced and the wrong 55-gallon drum got dumped into the wrong CBD, what are we doing with those people? What do you think?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think?
Throwing them around.
Yep.
Firing them.
Yep.
You fire them.
Go.
Meanwhile, I'm saying, isn't it possible that we could explore the problems that we're having with post-traumatic stress disorder and higher suicide rates in police officers, and at least consider the option that maybe this is something that police officers should have access to rather than firing them? They can self-medicate with alcohol. They can self-medicate with rubbing alcohol. They can self-medicate overdosing on ibuprofen or anything that's available over the counter in any store, anywhere, at any time. We have to put some trust in some of the police officers out there. And I think one of those areas that we're really missing an opportunity is in that mental health. I'm not just advocating for drug use. I'm advocating the fact that, again, you can have a police officer prescribed literally what is legalized heroin. I mean, let's not talk around it. This stuff has killed tens of thousands of people, and it's completely fine for police officers to have that stuff. But if they were to take a small tincture of something in avoidance of taking really aggressive opiates,
Mhm.
they'll be fired for that.
See,
So
but
those
here-
are just those little things that you run into when you're representing police officers.
Here's what I don't understand is THC stays in your system for 30 days, no
Right.
matter if you could smoke it and then 30 days later it still shows up in your system and you are far beyond, you're not even like close to being high
Right.
anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So even if a police officer were to take it early in the month or whatever, and then
Right.
get a drug test later on in the month, how do they justify?
They don't justify it. They stomp their foot and they say you're fired. And it's because that's the way our policy is.
Yeah, and that's
our
totally
policy
bullshit.
is you're fired. That's the policy. And then somebody like me walks in and goes, okay, well, hold on a second. Let's talk about this. All right. Can we just have a dialogue? How much was in the system? Was it that they were, guys, listen, any police officer today can chug a fifth of Jack Daniels before they walk into the door. Okay. Because we're permitting access to something doesn't mean that we should allow the abuse of it. Okay.
Exactly.
There are police officers all the time who come in and fortunately for whatever reason, they may have alcohol in their system. If it's suspected, there are rules and procedures in place and testing procedures in place that give that officer some due process, which is certainly a great thing. And then if it turns out that, they were intoxicated, maybe there's a rehab route. We don't have to immediately fire, punish, charge, and criminalize every single little offense that a police officer commits. We have to, or we're going to completely snuff out that profession.
You've given us a ton of examples today, and I know you're having a lot of success. And being a former cop gives you such a great perspective of life, of being somebody who was in investigations, of arresting people who are still behind bars, as you told us. Clearly, you're a criminal defense attorney, but in looking at your resume, that's not all you do. We wanted to make sure we gave you an opportunity to let everybody know how you can help them, what areas of law you're focusing on.
Sure. Well, listen, thank you. You kind of asked me that a minute ago, but I get so passionate about the law enforcement stuff, and I do have a significant number of a significant percentage of my law firm is representing first responders, but it's certainly not the only folks that I represent. And so I have a lot of personal injury cases. These are folks that are injured in auto accidents by someone else's negligence. I handle a lot of workers' compensation cases, not just for first responders, but they are a significant part of my business. And then again, I handle some employment stuff for first responders, termination appeals, representing individuals who I recently represented a real estate agent in a claim, an ethics violation claim. And so here I am printing up this extensive manual, like 400 pages, and I can just hear the cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching as it's just rolling off the printer. I'm like, I'm going to have not only that, but I'm going to have to read this thing and figure out how to represent them. And of course, it was a matter of weeks and I had that dismissed. Right. So I'm happy to jump on things. I'm happy to take on additional challenges. It's just important that everyone understands that you don't have to always pay, $100,000 every time that you're accused of committing a crime. Okay. There are really, really good defense attorneys out there and really great attorneys throughout St. Louis. And I have a lot of them that are my friends. I'm also, right now I'm representing the family of, and this is pro bono work. I'm representing the family of a young man who was found dead in the attic of a home in rural Missouri. And the young man's name is Durante Martin, and it's a cold case, but it has a lot of interest. And so, it was ruled a suicide. And then just a few weeks later, through some incredible work by the family, they had a coroner's inquest, and then it was determined that it was a homicide.
Wow.
And so I'm representing that family and helping them where I can. So, I've got a lot of neat things, but certainly the Iron County case is the one that seems to be grabbing the most headlines and probably the one that I get asked the most questions about, and including who's going to play me in the movie. And I decided I've got
Who
it
is it?
figured out. Well, it's not you, Vic, but
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Not Vic.
I don't even want to say it's embarrassing.
I'm going to say Ray Liotta.
No,
Well, he's dead.
No?
No,
Oh, is
yeah,
he?
he's
Yeah,
passed.
he died.
Oh my God. That-
Yeah.
I just found that
I feel a lot better about myself now that, you know, the dead guy's going to play me in the movie.
Did somebody give you an idea?
Oh, well, you know, I have one friend that says, you know, you should have Russell Crowe. I go, I think he's a little too old. And then I picked the you know, the hot it boy, Timothy Chalamet.
Okay.
I said,
can see
I think
both those.
Timothy
I can see
Chalamet
both of those.
for me. I
Yeah.
mean, because I want it to be really representative of my height and weight and my good looks.
Well, there you go.
I
Then
mean-
that's who you should have for sure.
Right.
For
So-
sure.
Glenn says, I think my CCW instructor gave out Gabe's name in case I was ever involved in a shooting.
Probably. And I've been involved in some of those. I mean, if there are people out there that run into issues, you know, I've talked about over policing. I mean, here's, and again, in the non-critical way, I mean, I'm talking about, you have to understand when you're a police officer and you get called to the scene of something, if you make a decision that caller, that reporting party, if you make a decision that they don't like, take a look at the name of your show and then I'll tell you what's going to happen to that police officer.
Mm.
You showed up, you used discretion, you determined there was no, you know, significant violation or there was no way to move forward with this investigation.
Shame on you.
By the way, you're fired or you're suspended. I did not take a case, but I was consulted on a case a couple years ago where a woman complained because she heard a man in the next row over at a grocery store talking to somebody on the phone and did not like what he was talking about and called the police on him. And that guy got a summons for peace disturbance.
Oh my God.
That's 100% true. That is 100% true.
Lizzie's neighbors
And
are
I
calling
don't-
police on her because of her dog.
And
Yeah.
I don't think for a second that police officer probably wanted to do it, but it's
Mhm.
easier. You see, it's easier for the police officer to go, you know what, I'm going to just write this summons and hope that somebody else takes care of it. Because if they walk in and they go, you know what, no, ma'am or sir, I'm not doing that. There is no crime.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We still have First Amendment protections in this country, right? So
I
no,
hope we
I'm not.
do.
Well, yeah, right. But I'm saying that I don't think that. I think that's a crumbling in the foundation right there. When we're going, he talked about what? A firearm.
Oh, wow.
Hey, by the way, Alec Baldwin. You're getting a lot of Alec Baldwins.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, alcohol.
well,
Yeah.
I think I'm a better shot than he is. I can
Yeah,
assure you that.
Yeah.
Eee.
Oh, that was a bump.
What?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I just. What did I
yeah.
say? No.
No, you
Nothing
were
wrong.
right on it. You were right on it.
Yeah.
You know, are you seeing more? You called them tattletales earlier. Some people call them Karens. I try not to call them Karens anymore because Karens are great. Are you seeing more tattletales lately?
Yes. Oh.
What's up with that?
it's
What's up
just-
with the tattletales?
Well, they're getting too much attention and they're getting too much law enforcement satisfaction.
Mm.
Okay. It's just the same as a person who's, the person that cried wolf.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Well, now when you cry wolf, you might have a tactical unit there and 17 police cars and
Oh, dear
3
God.
supervisors, and they've got to do something, right? We have to do something. No, you don't. Tell people no. Some people need to be told no, and that no needs to be coming from professionally trained, highly paid, and not overworked police officers.
Yeah.
When we have police officers running around checking light bulbs, I mean, on a Friday night in some of your municipalities in West County, you think that the police officer's job should be to drive around and count the streetlights? This is real work. I'm not, by the way, I want to be very clear. I'm not knocking the police officers.
Correct. Yeah.
I don't want to get an email today that said, you're making fun of my job. No, I'm making fun of the leadership people,
people
that are
know that. They
making
get you,
making you drive around and count streetlights. That's why you have a street department. Leave the police alone and let them start catching bad people. And I just think that by tamping down some of that, I think you'd see some more organic support for law enforcement. I'm worried though, because I think what you will see in the coming years, you're never, ever going to eliminate misconduct in any profession, in banking, education, no matter what it is. You're never eliminating a certain percentage of things that occur that are misconduct. It's an impossibility. So I would say, how much more, for instance, how much more racial profiling and implicit bias training can we force feed through to thousands of police officers? Meanwhile, their own command staff don't take the class.
Yeah. Wow.
So something happened. You see what I'm saying? But we force it on the little person, these poor men and women that are working the streets 24/7, and then we're piling on classes. And then when they're not in class, we're telling them to take classes online. So now they're out patrolling, but now they got to log into their laptop to take an online class that tells them not to be a racist. And I got to tell you something. If you think that you're going to train racism out of racist, you've got another thing coming.
Yeah. Great point.
And so I'm not saying that I want that to be allowed in law enforcement. No, it's the opposite. I want to have, things in place, procedures and policies in place that allow for hiring better police officers that lead to a decline in the percentage of misconduct.
I'm glad you're here with police officers and trying to take care of them. But if it doesn't work out, maybe you could do entertainment law too. I'm glad you're here. I wanted to bring this up because Matthew Perry, Friends actor, died over the weekend.
Sure.
And then maybe you can give me some perspective on this because the coroner comes out, says no foul play, no drugs or alcohol in the system. We're going to do a deferred. And I'm like, a deferred? I was like, what the hell is a deferred? He ruled it a deferred and said that he needs more. I looked it up and they need more investigation to figure out how he died. But there is cause to believe that it is another factor that killed him. And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
I don't know. I can't. I know that he passed away. I've also been the recipient of a number of really bad jokes that I laughed at. Somebody said that it hadn't been his day or month or even his year.
Oh yeah, I know.
Oh,
did you hear that?
Yeah,
no,
I'm not saying it.
But you got to sing it.
I'm not saying it, and I would never bring it up.
But he was also massively popular in regarding to promoting
when it comes
every
to those
vaccine as well. And we're like,
when it comes to that kind of stuff, I have certainly no background knowledge on anything. I can tell you that it's always best to slow things down. Okay. Especially on a high profile media case like that. And I've had a bunch of those media cases where, it comes out really hot and then it fades. So you jump on it, and you try to tackle, the pile of garbage that's said about your client. And if any of you have ever been piled on in public before, it's not comfortable. It is not, and it is really frustrating to represent people like that who are, people that are just allowed to say anything and everything they want about somebody, and it's not true. So when you have a case like Matthew Perry, I think you try to get as much information out as possible to feed the beast, if you will. But then at the same time, I think it's better that you proceed slowly. I think just because he was in his hot tub doesn't mean he didn't slip and fall and hit his head in his hot tub.
Right.
Doesn't mean that there couldn't be trauma. Doesn't mean that he stayed in there too long and overheated, or he stayed in there and he overdosed because he had relapsed. I think they're just saying, listen, we need a little more time, and they're not going to get toxicology reports in 36 hours.
How long does that take? How long does toxicology take?
In LA, goodness, I wouldn't even know the first. I can tell you here, sometimes 30 days, but sometimes longer. Just depends again on what agency, what crime lab. I mean,
so you're saying that
I don't think there's
though there's no signs of alcohol or drugs, toxicology could still show there was.
Sure.
Okay.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then why would they even say
drugs,
there's no signs? You mean there was nothing found at the scene?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they say things like that.
That just confuses me. Come on, Gabe.
Confuses everyone. I know. I got you, man. I got you. I feel for you.
Died suddenly in a hot tub. It was just.
Yeah, listen, I want,
after playing
if that were to happen to me, I want as many details out as possible,
Yeah.
So
I know it's one of those things, buddy. How can people find you again before we let you go here? If they want to use you for any of these
absolutely,
services?
sure. They can always call my office. It's 314-782-5810. And then I'm on Facebook, the Crocker Law Firm, and on Instagram, which is at crockerlawstl.com.
How many cases are you usually involved in at a time?
I'll tell you right now, I've been paring it down a little bit because I had an insane year, and I've got a lot of work coming up on this Iron County case, which is again a case I truly believe every police officer in the state of Missouri should be paying attention to, as well as anybody interested in, basic mechanics of, what to do and what not to do in some of these cases. And my client in this case was investigating multi-million dollars in corruption. And then as soon as the people that were involved in that found out, he was arrested.
Aha.
So,
well, we'll be following you and all that. Gabe
I hope you
Crocker,
do.
the Crocker Law Firm. Hey, buddy, I appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Great to be here.
Thank
You got a knack. We'll get you back in.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.
Thanks,
We'll
guys.
see you later.
Love
Gabe Crocker, the Crocker Law Firm. And of course, check them out. Check out the website. Check out all the law. We're grateful. A lot of really good interviews, information there. Former officer, becoming a lawyer to represent. Yeah, I agree, Margie. Great guest.
Oh, I'm getting private messages. They're on their feed. Really think Gabe was great. And he was. He has a good radio voice.
No, he does. Gabe, you're good on radio.
Boy, he
Podcast.
is. He's a good podcast voice. Very good podcast voice. And it's great because our listeners are loving that he defends our police officer, because sometimes defense attorneys get a bad rap. But you know what? If you get in any trouble or accused of something you didn't do, you're not going to call a prosecutor. You're going to have to call a defense.
Yeah, you do. Donald Trump's had to deal with that.
Absolutely.
We know what that's like. And we see what's been happening over in the Middle East, and we see the lack of response. Biden, Kamala Harris last night on 60 Minutes, when asked, and they were asking pretty good questions, or at least Kamala was, what do you say to Iran, who's now involved, and there's evidence that they are supporting Hezbollah and Hamas and terrorist organizations, and they're just like, don't. I'm like, what? That's all they're saying is don't.
Don't.
I'd rather have Donald Trump, who we'll hear right now, talk about if one drop of blood, of American blood, is spilled, what he would do. Here's Donald Trump talking about that.
When I'm back in the White House, America's enemies will now once again, and they're going to know it, that if you try to kill our citizens, we will kill you. We will kill you.
Love it.
I told
Love
them
it.
all that. We had no problem. We had no problem 3 years ago. We had no problem for 4 years. Nobody even, this is unthinkable. I mean, I just watch and see what's happening. It's unthinkable. This couldn't have happened. Mark, couldn't have happened. Although you maybe were more deeply involved than anybody, but I don't think you even believed a thing like this could have happened, Mark. If you spill a drop of American blood, we will spill a gallon of yours. We do not.
Okay, Lizzie, you just said it. Direct messaging.
Mm-hmm.
Not any of this, well, we're going to think about. Nobody wants war. Nobody wants to see civilians killed. Those Israelis, ask them and their families and their loved ones if they wanted to be attacked when they were attacked like they were viciously on October 7th. Okay, those things happened. They didn't ask for it. Okay, those happened. So then you have to deal with the consequences of what happens after that. And you need direct messaging. And this is why Donald Trump is so popular in America, because Americans, for the most part, I think, are fed up. I hope so.
I think so too.
And you get tired of getting the runaround from politicians.
Yes.
Give it to me straight. Let's go take care of this. No more of this bullshit. No more of this. Well, don't do that. And then one day say we have Israel's back. Then the next day say, well,
we don't know.
Whatever you're doing, just do it and be a leader. And don't give us the wishy-washy. We don't know what the hell's going on. World War III is starting. And here's Donald Trump talking about that if and when he is elected the next president of the United States.
Under my leadership, we will not squander our strength by trying to build democracies or in quicksand like we try to do. Let's take over a country and let's make it into a democracy. How does that work out? Not too good? Or turn Baghdad into Palm Beach. Palm Beach. Doesn't work out too well, but we will use American power to deter those who would harm our people. To every American who is terrified that Joe Biden's catastrophic weakness will bring our country to ruin, and it's closer than it's ever been. I believe it's closer than ever to ruin. I believe it's closer than ever to World War III. And I will stop World War III. You will not have World War III. I can tell you that. And I make this promise you as president, we will restore peace through strength on the earth, beyond, on the earth. Viktor Orban said the other day, the only way that this world is going to be solved, he's a very strong man, as you know, from Hungary, and he's the boss. There's no doubt about it. He actually asked me for my endorsement, and I gave it to him. I said, what do you need it for? He says, because I like to win by a lot. And
like
he
to
did.
win by a lot.
But he said, they asked him a question at an interview, and they said, what would you recommend to Biden? And he said that I recommend that he resign immediately and put Trump in his place, because during Trump, there were no problems. China respected us. Russia respected us. Everybody respected us. Under my presidency, our country was very, very feared and very, very respected. Feared is not a nice word, but we were feared. Greatest military in the world. You saw what we did. For 4 straight years, I kept America safe. I kept Israel safe, and I kept the world safe. The world was a safer place, a much safer place. Today, the world is blowing up all around, no matter where you look. If I were president, the attack on Israel would never, ever have happened. I think you believe that, right? I think you believe that. Ukraine would never have happened. Inflation would never have happened. The most embarrassing moment in our history, the inept withdrawal, the way they withdrew, not the fact that they were getting out. I had them all set to move. We were going to move out with dignity and strength, and we were going to take our equipment, and we were going to take our Americans with us, and we weren't going to have 13 people killed. Great soldiers, great, beautiful young soldiers. I got to know all of the parents. And we weren't going to have 38 people wounded so badly their lives are shattered, just shattered. The legs, the arms, the face obliterated. We weren't going to have any of that. We were going to walk out with power and strength and dignity, and we were going to get out. And we were going to keep Bagram, the Air Force Base, the big Air Force Base. Because
Donald Trump talking about what was happening there. We talked with Zizi earlier about that. She had already gotten out of Afghanistan. But leadership, presidential, that's a campaign speech based on facts, not based on what I will do because this is what I think is right, based on what I will do because I think this is right, and I have already proved that I have done the job. Facts. I've done it. Man, oh man, when you get used to the no-show, mumble mouth, marble mouth, falling all over the place, lost, decrepit man, Joe Biden, and lost not very intelligent Kamala Harris in regards to how she puts forth herself and her ideas. That is such a breath of fresh air.
Really is. Every
Palm
time
Springs,
I hear it.
Palm Springs.
Yes, yes. Because what we're
Palm
hearing
Springs.
from marble mumble mouth.
That's just the way he repeats things.
I love
it's
it.
almost, I mean, he's so direct, but it's almost like he's doing comedy, but he's not. But he's like, oh yeah, we're going to take you down. Gallons of blood.
Yep.
I mean, can you imagine Donald Trump in meetings with Putin and Xi and people all across the world? Like, yeah, don't do it. We'll be dropping bombs all over you. We got patriots. You got scuds. You don't want to mess with us.
Nope. No, you don't.
I mean, that's what we need. Yes. There is nobody else. And of course, if you're just joining us, then you've got wannabes, obviously. Can we show Gavin?
Wannabes.
Aaron called him Gavin Douchesome, not Gavin Newsom. He is Gavin Douchesome. Trump is the leader. Biden's lost all over the place, tripping, falling. And now you got the golden boy coming out of California, tripping all over himself on kids because he's trying to be cool. And don't forget for a second, this is your California. Oh, yeah, look at me. I'm good. I'm COVID. Oh!
Boom. And he falls on the kid. And then he spanks him.
Yeah, he's hugging him and like spanking him. He's like, oh, yeah.
And the kid's like, leave me alone. Leave me alone, dude. Let me get away from you.
He's also known as Gavin Gruesome.
Yeah, I call him Gavin Gruesome. For sure. He is gruesome.
Susan reminding us that by dumb, by Don is just a puppet for Barry's third term. We can appreciate that because we've talked about it so many times, but all of this crazy stuff still happening. We continue to follow it and try to bring you up to date on everything. Trump's presidential song should be "Move, bitch, get out of the way, get out of the way." I don't even know what that is.
It's a rap song. If that's the one I'm thinking they're talking about.
Maybe if I heard it, I would know it. Jeannie says he's a weirdo. Sounds like I got you, kid. I got you, kid, which is a little scary.
That is. It is scary.
I mean,
they're all scary.
He really wanted a photo op so bad.
Yeah, he did.
And he got one.
He got one.
That we're continuing to go. Joe, we've had a lot today, man. You doing all right in there? Did you back off?
Doing great.
You going to come back we
I'll
threw a
think
lot
about it.
We threw a lot at there today, though. We've covered a lot. Special thanks to ZZ. Please check her out. If you didn't see it yet, go back, like, subscribe, share the show, send it to people. You can send us stars as well. We're grateful for any donations that we get as well to try to keep this thing going. When we first started the show, we had people who donated as well. We're grateful for any donations. Once again, cancelthisshow.com. We've also got merchandise there. Matthew Perry.
Could I be more vaccinated?
Yeah, I didn't bring that up when we showed the picture of him. I don't know what's going to happen. I hope nothing. I hope he didn't take his own life by getting so vaccinated.
Right.
That it caused one of the conditions like myocarditis or the enlarged heart or something from that standpoint.
Well, and you think about it, Vic, if he was playing pickleball, which was what was reported, and then he's on a heart drug that's already, and maybe that heart drug was because he took the jab, or it was because of all of his drug and alcohol use. I don't know. But then he comes in, they tell you not to be all exerted, and then he got in a very warm hot tub. Did he fall asleep? Was it because he was vaxxed? Was it because he was a drug abuser? Or was it simply you can't play pickleball and get in the hot tub? But here's the thing that I think most of our listeners have said throughout the show. We're never going to know. They're never going to tell us the truth. So whatever was the jab, we're never going to know.
You're probably right. The only way that would happen is if family members decided to do it.
Correct.
And most of the time, the family members are not saying, well, you shouldn't have done that or you shouldn't.
Right.
It just, well, he got it.
He got it.
And we told him not to. So unfortunately, that's kind of the case that happens. We appreciate everybody joining us. Who's coming up tomorrow again? We've got
tomorrow.
Tanner?
Tomorrow
some
we've
pizza?
got. Tomorrow we're getting pizza.
Who are we promoting? We got a company that's coming in.
Yeah, so we've got, and his show, he's got two pizza. He's reimagining one of his pizza places, and he's coming in. He goes on different people's podcasts. He's local, and I really like him because I'm probably old enough to be his mom, but he's like really innovative and all that kind of things. And we have a 9:00 guest too. We have a mom that has been fighting the drag queens and all of that. She's coming in at 9, and her name is Rachel. But what's interesting, here's a twist to it. We've talked about this before on the show, but it's still ongoing. Andrew Bailey, who is the AG of Missouri, is fighting it. But get a load of this. The St. Charles City mayor is pushing back on her and pushing back on AG Bailey.
It's very interesting.
It's a really interesting. That's coming up at 9. So we've got a really great 9:00 hour. And then our 8:00 hour, we've got a whole bunch of fun things tomorrow. And it's Halloween, everybody. Wear your orange and put on your mask. And guess
you look like you're wearing orange and black today.
Well, because the whole week has to be about
okay,
Halloween.
I'm sure you've got a lot.
I do. And tomorrow, you guys have got to see Vic's,
No, I'm not wearing. No, I'm not.
You're not being Big Vic tomorrow?
No Big Vic energy.
We're not going to take any Vic dick pics.
No.
Shoot.
No.
Okay.
We'll say thank you for watching today and listening to our podcast. And thank you for promoting us. Once again, if you guys have any ideas on stories, anything from that standpoint, let us know. And also, if you know companies, we're also giving companies a shot to come on in. We'll promote them at least and see if they feel like this could be an opportunity for them. We like to promote things in the area, and it could be local. It could be national. Just let us know. Vic at cancelthisshow.com, Lizzie at cancelthisshow.com. Guys, thanks for joining us today for the podcast. That does it for the October 30th edition. For Pro Joe and Lizzie Sparks, I'm Vic Faust. Have an awesome day. Talk to you next time.